when there are all these amazing individuals, half of them, well, most of them sitting in this room, I suppose, when all of you, given half a chance, would do amazing things. So, what we've got to do, therefore, is take the lessons which I learned out of this and say, how do we make this work in practice? Well, there's a million ways, but I'm just using this as a simple little example of, if we talk about sustainability, then sustainability is incredibly complicated, it would seem. It isn't. Sustainability is really simple. The question is, did you leave the world a little richer than you found it? That's all. Forget all the fancy stuff, and I don't care how you do it, and I don't care what you do, so long as you can say it's a little richer than you found it. So when I run a course on continuing education, like you see the students sitting around here, the first thing we do is we build the venue. The reason we build the venue is that we know how much time, effort and energy we put into it. And when we reach the end of the course, we go around the students and we say, are we actually ahead? Or have we not made up the ground we use getting this thing up? Now if the students can say, I got more enthusiasm, I got more energy, I got more commitment, I got more love, I got more understanding, I got everything out of this, then you say, gee, that was a cheap deal. This actually was what I learned about sustainability. So forget all the other stuff everybody's telling you. It's not about energy, it's not about solar, it's not about electric cars. It's simply saying, if you want to leave it a little richer than you found it, don't spend a lot to start with, because otherwise you're never going to make up the lost ground. If you spend $1 million on a house, you've got to get a lot of surplus out of it before you're $1 million ahead. And so that means you've already set a pattern which is completely insoluble. And so this means that when you come to something like, for 4 years we took the crowd of students every year. I'd take 15 students. Harry Turbot and I, Harry Turbot was going to be here tonight, but most of you know Harry Turbot. He's usually here. Couldn't find him tonight. I don't know where Harry is. He's lost somewhere. Might have his foot in the mangroves or something. But anyhow, Harry and I would go up with about 15 to 20 students, and we spent a month up in Rarotonga, and we completely rebuilt this whole palace. Now, what that is about, somebody would think, oh, this is just about them going up there and doing a building. No, it's not about a building. What it's about is that to get this up, to start with, Harry and I had a simple arrangement, which was Harry dealt with the politics and I was foreman on the job. And you say, that's a funny arrangement. Well, no, it isn't. Because if you didn't handle the politics, nothing happened in Rarotonga. Now, and if you're wondering what the foreman on the job does, the foreman on the job has to know where every concrete mixer is, every hammer is, everything is. And the stories on this here were completely outrageous. I mean, forgive me if I repeat some stories that some of you already know, but like day one up here, you arrive up in Rarotonga at 1 o'clock in the morning because that's when the flights are cheap. They can't use the planes to fly anywhere else. So they fly you up to Rarotonga and you roll out to Murray Beach after about 2 hours sleep. And so I was just lying there. And Harry had invited me out to dinner, and I didn't look at the slides. I mean, it was a fantastic dinner, so I enjoyed the dinner and stuffed the slides. We'll sort that out when we get to Rarotonga. Bad move. They swing around the corner in a jeep and they said, what are you doing lying here on the beach? And I said, well, we're just getting ready, getting our heads together. They said, look, we put an ad in the paper, there's 50 people around the corner there waiting to know what to do. So I jump on this jeep, drive around the corner, and he's right, there are 50 people there waiting for me to tell them what to do. I'd never seen the place before. I thought I was going around to restore this building. There was nothing higher than that. It was just a heap of rubble. And so, how do you employ 50 people? Well, I'd never seen coral before. I had no idea he had built with coral, but I decided that you've got to keep, the main thing is to keep people occupied. So the first thing I did was to say, of course, well, it's really important to sort out the big coral from the little coral from the other green coral. So I had 50 people down there busy sorting coral, trying to get my head together. It got on, it just goes downhill from there, it got worse and worse. Like, I look up and there's a huge yellow D8 bulldozer coming through. This guy pulls up and says, the Prime Minister said you might need a bulldozer. What do you do when you've got a wreck of a building no higher than that, a pile of worn out coral, and you've got a bulldozer? So all I knew was that you fired a lime kill. And so lime kills require a big hole. And so bulldozers could dig holes. So I thought this was pretty good. All I needed to do though was find somebody who knew what a lime kiln was, because I didn't. So we ran around the island as quick as we could, and there's one guy who swore he knew and he obviously didn't, so we got. Then we found this other guy who was out of his blind trunk. So brought him down to the side, threw a bucket of water over him, tried to revive him enough. I said, you sort of need a hole. So I told the D8 bulldozer to dig the hole, and then slapped another bucket of water over this guy and said, how's that looking?
Too deep.
I said, D8 bulldozer, start filling it in. And so this is what I mean about, it's about culture. So before long, what we've got is the students are all over the place, digging holes and sorting coral and everything else. So what we've got now is what I'm calling the architects lament. Now these are fantastic houses. This happens to be Morris Smith, the New Zealand architect, who would have been head of the School of Architecture here. But of course the university turned him down. You can't risk having somebody who cares about building in charge of a School of Architecture. I mean, there's no telling what they do. So what you do is you get some guy who doesn't know anything about anything. And the story really is, up until I started to prepare this lecture, I thought it was pretty easy. You've heard me lecture before. It's all about the redistribution of power. And then I thought about it, and I decided, no, it isn't. Because you redistribute the power, and then the new people who've got it stuff it up, just like the old people who had it stuffed it up. What you've actually got to do, and that's the central message out of tonight, do away with power. It doesn't matter who's got it, they're going to abuse it. And that raises some really interesting questions then as to how you go about building, of course. So the stories roll on, and so this is Kiyomizu up in Kyoto, but we've also got Kiyomizu down at Cracker Bay. We kind of took this. If you're on a really steep hill, then that's the way in which you deal with it. So I had Kiyomizu in mind, steep hill, pretty simple really. And the next step that happens, of course, in life is that I had ordered these poles for up in the Hokianga, and so I got them dropped off in Peacock Street. That's another long story which I won't go into. And so the headhunters gang rolled them over and stuck the things. Next thing, I'm in deep trouble with council. And so then I said to the council, don't worry, they're not for here, they're heading up the Hokianga, just give us 24 hours. This is just before Christmas, I'm not saying you can't get a truck. And so next thing, the council ran, and I've got a court order telling me I've got 24 hours to get all these poles onto my site. And I thought, what do you do? Now, the council really knew I couldn't do this, but what they didn't know was that my father was a bushman. And so, with a jack, and I've got my friend Sam, my Fijian,